Today, we are going to talk about something that all of us love, real estate investing. Welcome to Alpha Investments, where we guide you to financial freedom. More specifically, I'm going to show you guys how to make money from property. And if you have never done this before, trust me, at the end of this video, you will feel like you're an expert. Okay, so the first step when it comes to real estate investing is buying a property. Now, I know what you might be thinking, I don't have any money. Well, good news for you, because there are multiple ways to go about doing this. The most common ones are getting a loan or finding a private money lender. Now, if you want to learn more about private money lending, definitely comment down below. We can do a video about it. However, today I'm going to focus on loans and the BRRRR method, which stand for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. There are many different types of loans out there, but the one I recommend for beginners would be an FHA loan. This type of loan is insured by the government, which makes it less risky for lenders, which in turn makes them more willing to lend money to people with lower credit scores or those who don't have a lot of money saved up for a down payment. Typically, with an FHA loan, you only need to put around 3.5% down. That means if a house is $200,000, you only need to have $7,000 saved up to buy the house. Now, depending on where you live, $7,000 could be a lot or just a little bit of money. So, keep that in mind. But generally speaking, an FHA loan is a great option for someone who wants to get into real estate investing but doesn't have a lot of money to start with. Now, next I am going to teach you guys about the four main types of properties that you can buy and how each one makes money differently. Single-family homes, multifamily homes, commercial real estate, and lastly, land. With single-family homes, you can either rent it out or live in it yourself while building equity. With multifamily homes, you can rent out all of the units and receive rental income. Commercial real estate can also be rented out and typically has long-term tenants, which means you will have a steady stream of income coming in. And finally, land can be used for development or just held as an investment, appreciating in value over time. So now that we know what kind of property you can buy and how to pay for it, let's move on to step number 2, which is rehabbing the property. This is where you add value to the property. And there are two ways to do this: cosmetic and non-cosmetic updates. Cosmetic updates are things like painting the walls, adding new carpet, or refinishing the hardwood floors. These types of updates are relatively inexpensive and can be done quickly. Non-cosmetic updates are things like adding a new roof or replacing the windows. These types of updates are more expensive and they take longer to complete, but they can also add more value to your property. Now, it's important to keep in mind that not all properties need to be rehabbed. If you're able to find a property that is already in good condition, then you can skip this step entirely and move on to renting out the property. Alright, so once you've updated the property, it's time to rent it out. There are two ways to go about doing this. You can either list the property on the open market and find a tenant yourself, or you can hire a property manager. Listing the property on the open market is a good option if you're looking to save some money. You'll need to screen potential tenants, show the property, and collect rent. Hiring a property manager is a good option if you're looking for a more hands-off approach. The downside of hiring a property manager is that they'll take a percentage of the rental income. Typically, property managers charge between 8 and 12% of the rental income. So, keep that in mind when deciding whether or not to hire one. Next, it's time to refinance the property. This is where you take out a loan against the value of the property. Now, there are two reasons why you would want to do this. The first reason is to get cash out of the property. This is a good option if you're looking to use the equity in your property to fund other investments. The second reason is to lower your monthly mortgage payment. This is a good option if you're looking to free up some of your cash flow. To refinance, you'll need to have at least 20% equity in the property. Equity is simply the value of the property minus any liens against the property, such as a mortgage. So, if the property is worth $100,000 and you have a mortgage of $80,000, then you have $20,000 of equity in the property. Once you have at least 20% equity in the property, you can approach a lender and ask for a loan. Lenders will typically lend up to 80% of the value of the property. Finally, we have repeated. This is where you take the money you got from refinancing and use it to buy another property, and then you rinse and repeat the process until you're a real estate mogul. And the best part about this is that you can do it all from your phone. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. That sounds great, but I don't have a lot of money. Well, that's not a problem, because you can start with just one property. Here's an example of how you can do this with just $7,000. You find a property that needs a little bit of work and is selling for below market value. You buy the property and make the necessary repairs. You then rent the property out and use the rental income to pay for the mortgage, taxes, and insurance. After a few months of doing this, you can refinance the property and use the equity in the property to buy another property, and then you just rinse and repeat the process. And if you're wondering how much money you can make from doing this, well, it really depends on how much money you have to start with and how many properties you own. But here's a rough estimate of what you can expect to make. If you have $7,000 to start with, you can expect to make about $100 a month in profit. If you have $20,000 to start with, you can expect to make about $300 a month in profit. And if you have $50,000 to start with, you can expect to make about $1,000 a month in profit. And if you're wondering what the catch is, well, there really isn't one. This is truly one of the best ways to make passive income. However, it does require some work up front, but once you have everything set up, it should run pretty smoothly. Start now and buy a property. Once you've bought the property, it's time to rehab it. Quickly, right after, rent it out and start collecting the money. Finally, it's time to refinance the property. So if you're ready to start making passive income from real estate, remember to subscribe to the channel. You'll be on your way to building wealth in no time. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. And if you guys have any questions, comment down below. We'll try to respond as soon as possible. Alpha Investments.